Hello everybody and welcome to a new episode of our program Languages of the World. So here we are once again for another episode of English, and of course everybody knows that there are some skills you need to have in order to be able to use the language pretty well. Actually, you need to be able to speak, to listen, to write, and to understand. So writing is one of the most important skill in any language, and especially in our educational system, you need this skill very much in order to pass exams and get good marks. On this episode, we'll be talking about writing as an art, writing as a skill. And let me introduce my guest, Dr. Riham Adly, and she is not a teacher, she's a writer. Hello, Dr. Riham, and welcome to the program.
How are you?
I'm pretty good, thank you. Well, I'm really interested in talking to you about this very topic because it's the first time I dedicate an episode to talk about writing, because of course writing is very important. So now you tell us, how important is writing?
Well, writing is a basic skill that writing is a basic skill in which your knowledge and your intellect and your work was going to be judged in the workplace, in college, and in the community in general. So writing is no longer something that you do for fun or something that you do in order to be famous. It is a skill that everyone must have.
Yeah, usually when people speak, we get to know them. We may understand how they are as people. What about writing? Can somebody, for example, I don't know, show his personality through writing?
Of course, considering today's advanced technological age, communication is widely based on text messages, emails. So writing is the mean of communication nowadays. So imagine if somebody sends you a text with a writing that is full of grammatical mistakes, things that you can understand, you won't be able to communicate properly. Or if somebody sends you an email that is full of grammatical faults or not written well, if you're, for example, an enterprise or a business, you won't be able to trust that person, you won't be able to have communications done well. So writing is essential in order to communicate. People now talk to each other on Facebook through writing, through text writing.
Yeah, but they don't follow any rules.
They don't follow any rules, and sometimes it gets a little bit hard to understand what people are writing. There's this Franco or up thing going on, and sometimes people write things that are completely incomprehensible. That would get into the way of proper communication.
However, we cannot say that, writing on social media is, is not necessary.
Writing in social media is extremely necessary. Now, let us consider something as content writing. If you're writing a data or something for an enterprise or for a website or for a company or for a business, this is writing on social media. Your content has to be savvy, has to be very attractive, it has to reel in the customer. It's very important for business. So, and if you're a blogger, for example, and you're promoting your product, whether it be something related to the market, or if you're an author or whatever you write in the blog has to be very interesting and has to be well written in order to draw in your audience and your target clients. So writing on social media is the thing right now. You have to write really well on social media. It's not just about communication on Facebook or stuff like that.
Yeah, I guess a good speaker does not necessarily make a good writer, and a good writer does not necessarily make a good speaker. What do you think about that?
Well, I think that if you're going to say something, then you have that talent, that ability to improvise, to come up with ideas, to be creative. And if you can't do that on a level of speaking and interacting with people, then why not do that on a level of writing as well? A good speaker could definitely be a good writer. But it depends on the content of writing. What are you writing?
Yeah, but for example, some speakers are known to be speakers. They know how to attract audiences. But when it comes to writing, they are not that skilled.
Well, writing is a muscle. Just like your hands and your arms, you need to practice in order to get that muscle working. So if you want to write, you have to practice writing. But you have to have the basis, which is the talent and the ability to communicate, the ability to create, and the ability to get what you want outside to the audience that you're targeting. So it's just a matter of practice.
But tell me, are there fixed rules that we should follow whenever we put the pen to the paper?
Well, of course there are many rules, but rules are usually made in order to be broken. The most important thing is getting your message out.
Yeah, this is very interesting. Rules are made to be broken.
Yes, rules are out there just as a guidance.
Yeah.
It's like a little toddler having someone to hold their hands in order to learn how to walk, the baby steps, but later on when they grow up they could just walk on. So it's the same thing. Rules are made for you just to guide you, to teach you, to show you how to do things, but that doesn't mean that you have to follow them strictly, and many have done that. Rules are definitely made to be broken most of the time. So I don't like to really follow a specific set of rules, but there's some specific things that you have to definitely follow when you're writing, and I can't really say general rules because every genre of writing has its own guidance and its own manual. It depends on what you're writing, really.
Yeah. Some people are very, very famous as writers, of course. Some of them use simple language. Some of them use complex language. What do you think is better in writing?
Well, I think
Which
a balance.
style?
I think a balance is the best thing, and it depends on really what you're writing. If you're writing in a genre that targets people who are interested in a certain field that requires simple language, then you have to use simple language. Ditch the metaphors and the similes, ditch the complicated expressions, too many adverbs, too many adjectives, and just focus on the point. It could be something dialogue driven. So it depends on what you are writing and your target audience. If you're writing something philosophical, for example, of course your language has to be a little bit complicated. So it depends on the material.
You as a writer, how did you learn how to write?
Well, I think that writer is an acquired skill, but the ability to communicate or the ability to be creative is something that we're born with. Those stories that just...
So it's a talent, you think?
Yes, of course, it is a talent, but in order to be a good writer, talent is just 1% of the process. Practice, practice, practice is everything.
Yeah.
So you have to practice, you have to actually write every day, you have to read a lot, you have to get acquainted with the styles of prolific authors or author you like to write in their style in order to sit down and write. But the most important thing is to sit down and actually write. So writing every day and exposing your writing to the community, to the writing community, getting critique, reading, getting books about the craft, taking classes, those are all things that help you become a better and more established writer where writing is concerned, not where being famous is concerned.
Yeah, I usually say that in order to be a good speaker, in order to speak a language pretty well, you need to listen a lot.
Yes.
And in order to write well, you need to read a lot.
That
what
is
do you think?
on spot, definitely. We have a mantra in writing is that read, read, read. If you want to write, you have to read, read, read. Reading is everything. It's like going into college and having those subjects that make you practice the thing that you're going to do in the future. It's the same thing with writing. You have to read different styles and different genres in order to finally find your own voice and sit down and think of what you're going to write. So reading is very important.
Yeah, but how can I get my own style? Because some people might say that if I read and read and read, perhaps I will start copying the style of others.
Well, this is something that you must do. This is something that you must do.
Copy?
Yes, copy, but it's not plagiarism. I don't mean plagiarism, but
Yeah.
I mean...
I'm talking about the style here.
Yes, the writing style. You have to find a writing style that you favor, that you like, that fits comfort zone, that's your comfort zone, and somehow emulate that style for a while until you naturally get your own voice out. It's like raising your children on a set of morals and set of rules, and then when they're old enough, you just let them out and live their lives. But you've raised them on those set of morals and set of rules. reading a certain style, copying a certain style is something that all writers do. Even Stephen King, in his early beginnings, he has lots of novels where he actually copied styles of other writers he was influenced with. So it's something that eventually happens to all writers. And it takes time until you actually develop your own voice.
All right, this is really great. Let me just stop for a while, and we'll be back after this break, so stay with us. So we are back, and this is really a very important topic we're discussing. We're talking about writing, the art of writing, how important writing is in communication. And I have Dr. Riham Adly. She is a writer. Welcome back, Dr. Riham. So, Dr. Riham, tell me, I introduced you as a writer, but let me know, what kind of writing do you do?
Well, I write fiction, mainly. Currently I'm doing short stories, and I have a work in progress, which is a novel.
So you're going to be a novelist?
Hopefully.
Yeah. But this genre, short stories, I guess people might think it's easy, but I guess it's the hardest, the most difficult.
Well, a short story, from its name, is short, so you have to compact and get in a lot of what you want to say into a very limited word count, so you don't have the same liberties you have when writing a novel. You have chapters and chapters, so of course it is definitely much more harder to write and harder to perfect and get what you want across than it is with a novel.
And when you started writing, you just started by writing short stories?
Yes, I started immediately writing short stories, and I started then learning a little bit about the craft of writing short story, how's it done, the things I have to focus on, the things I have to work on, and it evolved with time.
Yeah. You think you have your own style right now?
I can't really say that for sure, because like I said, I write mainly short stories. I write in different genres. I'm not really sticking to one single genre. And I read a lot, and naturally, subconsciously, I do emulate styles that I love. So it's a little bit early to say that I have my own voice, but I'm trying to do that. Trying to write experimental work that is unusual, not following traditional format of a short story somehow, and getting some success publishing that.
Yeah. Usually people think that rules are made to be followed, but you just, you know, had this slip and said, well, rules are made to be broken. Does that show the rebel in you?
Of course, I am very much a rebel. The fact that I'm an Egyptian who writes in English is quite a revolutionary act, actually. It's very much of a rebel, yes.
And you just write in English or in Arabic as well?
I only write in English. Unfortunately, I would have loved to have written works in Arabic, because I think that the Arabic language is very rich, and it deserves to have the attention that the English literature has. But unfortunately, I'm much better in English in regards to communication than I am in Arabic.
Yeah, and of course, and you teach people how to write and
yes,
the art of writing in general.
Yes, I give creative writing classes where I teach the elements of fiction. I teach students the basic elements they have to know very well in order to write the short story. And teaching has actually helped me as a writer as well, because things that are usually overlooked, things that wouldn't really put lots of time thinking about come to my attention right now. When you critique or when you edit other people's work, it kind of really teaches you a lot, because you see things that could be in your own writing and things that should not be there. So I teach, and in the same time, teaching has taught me a lot and has helped me a lot.
Yeah. You talk about writing as a talent. You think some people are talented, they have the talent of writing. However, some people talk about writing as a skill. So is there a difference here between writing as a talent and writing as a skill?
Well, writing is a skill wherever you are. It is a skill. It is an acquired skill.
I mean, a talent, usually the word talent means that this is something you're usually born with.
Yes.
But a talent is something you learn.
It is, of course. People with the talent could somehow, it is some sort of a shortcut, but even if you don't have the talent, you could very well learn the art and perfect it at the same time. It's just going to take a little bit longer. It all boils down to the dedication, how much dedication you have to the craft. If you put a lot of effort studying, understanding, taking classes, practicing, you could actually be as good as the talented person. It all boils down to dedication. And as for writing as a skill, writing is a basic skill right now. It's not just regarding writing fiction or regarding writing content for the internet. I mean, you have to use writing in almost everything in your life. If you're writing a college application, you need to write a very well elaborate paper. If you're writing to receive financial aid, you have to be very appeasing, and you have to be very you have to somehow make the part you're writing to understand that. Of course, if you're writing an essay for your college, if you're preparing a research paper, if you're writing a thesis for your PhD or a master's degree, writing is such an important skill right now that when you're writing a CV, for instance, when you're writing a cover letter, when you press releases for companies, newsletter for clients, writing is everywhere. It doesn't have to be exactly about writing fiction and having talent in the muse and things like that. It is a very basic skill that is essential in today's business world.
Yeah. So you said at the beginning of the episode that you can understand people through their writing. You can get to know what makes them tick. You can get to know their personality, for example. So is it that easy, or it needs also some experience?
Everything needs experience, but of course writing exposes people more than it is with the oral communications.
Yeah, I mean, usually we talk about reading between the lines. What is reading between the lines for you?
Well, reading between the lines is actually listening to what's not been said. You can understand that through the writing, and you can understand that through oral communication, through the body language. So it is something that you could definitely get through the writing, understanding the things between the lines. It depends on the tone of the writing, the mood of the writing. It all gives you cursors to reading between the lines.
Yeah. When you write, what rules you must not break?
Well, first of all, I have to be, number one rule is hook the reader. The reader must be reeled into my world and into my writer right from the very first line. It's something that I teach my students over and over again. Work on your first sentence. The first sentence has to be
the introductory sentence.
Yes, it has to be your hooking sentence. If the reader is not really...
I like this expression,
yes,
the hooking sentence.
Yes,
so it's like the reader is like a fish, for example.
Yes, it is a literary term. We have something called the narrative hook, the literary hook.
Yeah.
You have to really catch the attention, snag the attention of the reader right from the very first line or from the very first paragraph. So this is a rule that you cannot really let go of, because in today's short attention span, fast world, technology, speed, people don't have time to waste. If it's not good enough for me, if it's not going to catch me just like that, I won't really bother with it. So this is one major rule I cannot break.
Yeah, but you might introduce your topic very well, and then later on you screw up.
It could happen.
Yeah.
It could happen, but the thing is, someone did handle a copy of my book or handle a copy of my piece, and they did start reading. And once you started reading, you always have that feeling that I should continue. Some people have that guilt. Perhaps I should just keep on reading and I'll have something good. But of course, it's better that you don't screw up things after that. So there are other set of rules, of course, that you have to follow in order to have a successful piece.
Yeah, but should a writer care about the reader when they write?
Of course. I mean, why am I writing? I'm writing for the reader. Of course, I have to care for the reader.
Yeah. So, but writing itself is a talent, maybe a skill, but it's not the only thing needed here. You know, you have to have other talents.
Of course, you have to know how to market your work very well. You have to know how to reach the audience.
You have to be creative.
You have to be creative in marketing your work. You
Yeah.
have to be creative in getting through to the audience, because the competition is huge, and the internet has made it possible for absolutely anyone in the world to publish. We have Amazon and Kindle Unlimited. We have multiple platforms where you can self-publish. Anyone could self-publish anything. So there's just a limitless number, infinite number of writers out there in the world. So you have to be able to market your work really well. You have to make the readers or make the client want to grab a copy of your work or grab a copy of your product. So it's not just about being talented. Lots of talented writers are unknown. They have really good books, but they failed in marketing themselves. So it's not just about writing, of course, it's about shedding the light on your product.
Yeah, I really enjoyed talking to you very much. You've given us really some new ideas about the writing skill, and I hope I'll be meeting with you again to talk about other topics related to writing. So let me at the end thank you very much for being with us. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you very much.
So we've come to the end of this episode, and by the way, you might think that Dr. Riham is a foreigner or whatever. No, actually, Dr. Riham is Egyptian, but she speaks English very well. She writes English, and she has the talent of using this language, so nothing is impossible. It's hard work that can lead you anywhere. Thank you very much, and we'll be seeing you next episode. So have a good time.